I've been working on something, if you couldn't tell. You see, the story behind all that is, well, you see, one day, like a little over a week ago, I was really bored, and then I was like, hey, what if I draw every president? And then I was like, okay. And then I drew every US president because I was just really bored and had a lot of time. And I've finished. I'm going to show you all. If you couldn't tell, I cannot get all of them in just one photo, so I have to stand on top of a chair on my tippy toes just to get almost all of them. Almost. So, yeah. Start off at the beginning, shall we? So, of course, you have to start with George Washington. And, of course, when I drew George Washington, I wasn't intending on, drawing everyone else. Uh, the story behind me drawing him is I was very upset that I couldn't paint a good portrait. And as you can tell, it's not very good. So I was like, hey, I should draw George Washington. And then I proceeded to draw George Washington on the 26th, the day after Christmas. Then, of course, if you can't tell, I spent a lot of time on this. So let's get into it. So in going order, I proceeded to draw John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, the first president photograph that I drew, then Andrew Jackson, then Martin Van Buren, then William Henry Harrison, then John Tyler, then James K. Polk, and then I proceeded to draw Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, and then James Buchanan. And of course, I'm not going to go in immense detail because at the end of the video, you'll see everyone individual. And of course, you got Abraham Lincoln. And this one, surprisingly, I did not have a lot of fun drawing because, of course, I've drawn Abraham Lincoln many times, so it wasn't much of a challenge for me. Now, Andrew Johnson was actually on probably my best one, or at least one of my best ones out of all this, because it looks very much like the picture. And of course, then you got Ulysses S Grant, the gentleman who was on the 50. And then you got upcoming a bunch of not as known people. You got Rutherford B. Hayes, of course, and this one was very interesting because this was the first one I did not draw a mouth because you cannot see his mouth. And I was like, well, yeah. They got James A. Garfield, of course, the third president to be assassinated in office. And, of course, I'll probably not go into more detail about that because you can look into it your own self. Then, of course, you got Chester A. Arthur. Of course, he became president after Garfield was assassinated. Then you got Grover Cleveland. And I know what you're thinking. Hey, that looks trash. And you know what? You're right. But also the fact that I have to draw this guy twice, so I kind of didn't really care about the first time because I'm going to have to draw him again anyway. And then you got Benjamin Harrison. And of course, that last name might sound familiar because he is actually the grandson of the first president to get in office, William Henry Harrison. It's a little bit of knowledge for you. But then, oh, hey, look, look who it is. It is the one, the only, Grover Cleveland. See, this is why I didn't draw him so good the first time, because I was already knowing I was going to have to draw him again. And then the one and only William McKinley is up to bat. Kudos if you know where that's from. Spoilers, the Animaniacs song. Then you got Theodore Roosevelt, which I was actually very, very interested in seeing how I would draw him. And this is, in my opinion, one of my other better ones because, of course, you got his glasses and his mustache and just all the detail that went into it. I'm very happy about. And then you got Mr. Taft, one of the biggest gentlemen to serve in the presidency. Then you got the president who took us into World War One, Woodrow Wilson. And if you don't know him, well, I feel sorry for you because you don't know history. Of course, Warren G. Harding is next, then Calvin Coolidge, he comes next. And then 1929, the market crashes, then we find it's Herbert Hoover. But of course, he gets blamed and loses to Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president who helped us win in World War II. Then, of course, Harry Truman comes next. And one of my favorite gentleman to draw, Dwight D. Eisenhower. He's the only one that's not in the normal presidential uniform. He is in his 5-star general attire because he was commanding general in World War II. And of course, this upcoming one is very unique. Of course, JFK. This is one derived from his official president painting. Of course, it's him looking down with his arms folded. That is why you cannot see his eyes. This is the only one that I did not draw the eyes in. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. Then got LBJ, Lyndon B Johnson, who of course would take the oath of presidency after JFK. And then after LBJ is Richard Nixon. And of course after Richard Nixon, it's Gerald Ford. And this was a very interesting photo because I was like, I'm going to find one of him without smiling with teeth because I can't draw teeth because I suck at it. So I was like, smoking a pipe. Very interesting. And it's quite ironic because he's looking at Mr. Richard Nixon. And then after Gerald Ford comes James E. Carter. And of course after Carter comes Ronald Reagan. And then Mr. George H.W. Bush. And then Mr. Bill Clinton is next. And then George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush's son. And then Mr. Barack Obama. And then to end it all, with all the stuff going around, ironically, is Mr. Donald John Trump. As you can tell, I finished this just yesterday, or the 4th of January, depending on when you're watching. He's the only one that has the presidential American flag pin, because he is the current U.S. president at this moment in time. And, yeah, I am very happy with how all these turned out. It took me, collectively 10 days to, and each drawing would take about any time from 30 minutes to an hour and a half per drawing. I'm just very happy with how it all turned out. A little side collection, and you will see all the ones in order, be able to enjoy them right now. I apologize if my voice sounds a little bit weird. I'm using my earphone microphone, so sorry about that.